Welcome to another movie plot and enjoy the memories. We open at a museum in Ukraine with the Prime Minister's children being escorted by armed guards. They aren't armed enough as they get ambushed out front by 3 men fitted for combat who easily neutralize the Secret Service. They swipe the meal tickets, leading to a high-speed police chase through the city with some of the most determined officers I've ever seen. A roadblock manages to take out the driver, but his passenger's built a little different and just tosses his buddy aside to keep going. The hostages are brought to an extraction point where the new driver is the only one who survives, getting them onto the chopper. He brings the Prime Minister's son and daughter to Chernobyl, where a terrorist organization has seized control of the nuclear power plant. A rogue government scientist, Dr. Colin, cleans up the new generation of Universal Soldier as it's the only one that he managed to steal. The genetically engineered super soldier is capable of having his damaged limbs cut off and simply replaced with cloned parts. That is why the commander of the Generic Liberation Front has hired Dr. Death to help ransom the children for his friend's freedom. Topov has also rigged the power plant to explode for some reason, so a joint task force of US and Ukrainians assemble. Colonels Petrov and Coby are the bronze of the operation, which would make Dr. Porter the brains as he helped Colin build the NGUs. He says they worked out great until the slaughter of some office workers, so all were decommissioned except for the stolen unit. Since Colin's the only one capable of controlling the NGU, Porter knows that his old partner must be behind this, but the good doctor has some slaves of his own. 4 of the original Unisol are being kept in cryofreeze and aren't as advanced as this guy, but Porter assures us that they can get the job done. There's another, but Coby explains that Deveraux is currently undergoing rehab in Switzerland and we should just leave him alone. Dr. Fleming has spent years therapizing the programming out of Luke's head and reintegrating the original super soldier into society. You can tell it isn't going too well when Luke remarks that he recognizes this restaurant, but Fleming says yeah, because we come here every week. It's an even bigger giveaway when Luke nearly beats some stranger to death who was probably just coming over to deliver a check. The doctor calms her trauma patient down, then they run away as good luck trying to explain Luke's situation to the authorities. Meanwhile, the older Gen Unisol are thought out, suited up for the mission, and have headsets screwed directly to their skulls. Before storming the facility, Dr. Porter informs the strike force to avoid engaging the NGU and leave it for the Universal Soldiers. They come under heavy fire but eliminate all of the defenders in a well-coordinated assault before handing it over to the cyborgs. The Super Troopers enter the facility searching for the NGU, but of course they split up so that he's able to take them out one by one. Driving a wrist-mounted blade into the first, he then engages the second, who's a bit better fighter but is still overwhelmed and gutted. The third nearly shoots the NGU, but he demonstrates a speed that the older technology doesn't expect to circle around and flank him. Sticking this one on a hook, Coby really should call off the fourth guy who just lazily strolls around the facility. He also expends all of his ammunition in a single burst, so don't expect him to put up much of a fight. When he isn't stabbing them, the NGU's simply beating his opponents to death, which is how this guy's killed, or possibly asphyxiation. The normal troops outside are told to retreat, but it's too late as the super soldier slaughters most of them effortlessly. Even Petrov dies, but not before sacrificing himself to save 2 soldiers with a well-dropped grenade at the foot of the Unisol. It just stands back up, but Topov has had his men implanted with beacons that indicate they're not to be fired upon. Since these idiots in the way are detected by the NGU's retina implants, he wanders off to get his pets from Colin. There's tension between the doctor and Topov, who keeps having this nerd undermine his orders by acting like he's in charge. I keep waiting for the leader to pull a gun and just shoot him in the face, but Colin is prepared should the terrorists ever decide to try. Since the chips prevent the new gen from harming Topov's soldiers, the doctor has cloned one of the original Unisols. Expecting an obedient slave, what he gets is the psychotic Andrew Scott, who has fragments of the original war criminals' memories. At the US outpost, Captain Burke is angry about being sent up against the Terminator, but Porter told them to retreat, so you can't blame him. The terrorists blow up part of the plant as a warning, so with all other options exhausted, the doctor sends a team to forcibly recall Deveraux. He wakes up in a lab where Porter thinks that if 4 Unisols in their prime can't do the job, then surely a single aged-out unit can. Luke's injected with the super soldier serum and, against the wishes of his therapist, put through a rapid reconditioning process. While he's being prepped for combat, Colonel Patience decides to not just wait around and sends Captain Burke to rescue the Prime Minister's children. This dude just went through hell recovering nothing but the corpse of his friend from this place, and now they send him back in. He does well navigating Chernobyl in silence and eliminating everybody he comes across without being detected by the patrolling Robocop. As the deadline grows near, the Ukrainian Prime Minister still refuses to cave to the terrorists' demands, but he's married. This means that over 100 imprisoned terrorists are released in exchange for her children, so the victors deactivate the bomb and begin to celebrate. Colin sees this as an opportunity to fulfill his own ambitions further, and this reaction is what I expected out of Topov all along. It's too late now, as Andrew Scott contributes to the movie's minimal fight choreography of simply having the Unisouls punch their opponents to death. With Commander Topov dead, the Doctor runs this operation for all of about 10 seconds before he realizes Andrew isn't following orders.
Sit!
Dr. Frankenstein is killed by his own creation before Scott removes the command chip from the back of his head that wasn't working anyway. As far as I can tell, he then reactivates the bomb just because he's psycho, while Captain Burke locates the children and begins leading them to safety. The NGU comes across his maker dead and engages Burke in close quarters, giving the kids enough time to hide. Both of these actors are former UFC fighters, so it's full of well-choreographed grappling that highlights the size difference between a heavy and a welterweight. Despite the valiant attempt, this is why we have weight classes, as Burke's no match for the heavyweight who guts the defiant soldier. Meanwhile, Luke's reconditioned and given a final dose of the super juice, causing him to skits out, attacking Fleming and some random doctor. Only following the commands of his superiors, the Unisoul is deployed to Chernobyl, where he moves through the city eliminating terrorists along the way. He's hit by a jeep at one point, but the reconditioning seems to have worked, as he just gets up, shoots the remaining defenders and continues going. With ruthless efficiency and a look on his face like he just smoked a bowl, he expends all of his ammunition before switching to a knife. That doesn't make things any better for his enemies, who he just slices up until coming across this genius. Deveraux locates the Prime Minister's children, but they're cornered by Andrew having a schizoid episode. He recognizes Luke and says that there's something he wanted to ask him but can't remember, so the two just engage in a fight instead. The extended battle scene features some brutal shaky cam and mostly a variety of ways to knock each other through walls and into things. Ultimately going out a window, both men sustain heavy damage when Luke finds a metal pole and impales Andrew in the forehead, ending their fight. Remembering what he wanted to ask him, Luke doesn't care to hear it and fires a shotgun through the hole, spraying Scotty's brain bolognese everywhere. Dr. Porter predicts that Deveraux has about 20 minutes left in him to find the kids and escort them to safety, but they're attacked by the NGU. The two Unisouls fight in a manner that's just the new model, trying to catch the children while Luke chases after him, losing every confrontation. Eventually the chase slows down, and while still failing to win any significant exchange and even getting stabbed by the wrist blade, Deveraux somehow wins by picking up a metal rod and just driving it through the NGU's throat. Needing to deactivate the ticking time bomb, he then runs to the reactor room, but of course the villain returns to continue their fight. Struggling to keep up with this thing, a battered and beaten Deveraux flees to the bomb balcony so that he can remove the detonator. Instead of deactivating it, he sticks it in the back of the NGU's vest and tackles him over the railing away from the reactor. The two tumble all the way out of the facility to where Luke watches as the NGU removes the device just as the timer runs out, and he's destroyed in a fiery explosion. With the children saved, Luke silently runs away, leaving it for the army to secure the hostages and make sure nobody's radioactive. Since there isn't anything left of the NGU, they recover Burke's body and store him in the freezer for the next batch of Universal soldiers. This time with the capacity to clone the host and continue the violent cycle without resurrecting corpses. And the movie ends.